Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you will enjoy listening to. If you're interested in creating more balance in your life, understanding your 5-element energetic nature, finding the path of greatest ease,
or releasing the baggage of this lifetime and discovering ancient alchemy that can help you fly in your life, join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical transformational journey.
Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. My name is Jaye McElroy, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Leta Herman.
Hello. I'm so excited to start this new podcast. And today we're going to introduce you to the podcast and give you some background information about us. And also we'll talk about what you can expect from the podcast in the future.
We're hoping what inspires us will inspire you as well. We want you to take action, have fun in your life, and definitely get on the path to being happier. This whole podcast started with an inspired thought that I had, which led to an inspired conversation with Leta, which has now led to this Inspired Action podcast, which we hope is going to go on for a while. We have a lot of topics we want to cover, so this is what we're going to attempt to do.
It's all about inspiration and transformation. So we have some great ideas for our initial few months of podcasting. We have some great shows and interviews lined up.
We also want some feedback as we go. So if there's a topic we haven't covered, we're definitely open.
Yeah. And for us, it's an ever evolving process because we're open to new ideas, new inspirations, new motivations. And that's what we want to share with you and really create a growing community of seekers and like-minded individuals who really welcome change and personal growth.
I mean, I'd love for someone to tell me something and send me down another path of an interest or a thought or a conversation. That's what gets me going every day. It makes me very happy to have that kind of, inspiration, I guess is the right word.
And we've both been helping and inspiring people for a long time. And Jaye, in particular, you've been working to help people more on their success.
And from a business standpoint or marketing standpoint, or even a life standpoint, and I have found that over the years of doing this for 20 some years, that it doesn't really matter how much money you make or how much success you find in your job. It's if you don't have the key components, which is happiness, love, spirituality, joy, bliss, whatever you want to call it. That's really what life is about.
Our mission in this podcast is to help you on your journey to living a more authentic existence. And this may encompass all kinds of ideas that we find inspiring, from general health and lifestyle pursuits, exercise and diet.
We have a lot of interests.
And also Jaye's a big proponent of putting fun back in your life. And one of her favorite questions to ask is, what do you do for fun?
And people sometimes just stare at me and go, I don't know. So we want to change that.
Like adding music and dance back into your life, or just socializing, or all those things. Sometimes people forget about that.
And in all of this is a nice, easy flow of life. It's something that we call Wu Wei. Lee's going to talk about that right now.
And Wu Wei is what we translate to be inspired action. That's what it means. It's a Chinese Taoist concept. And we're going to be bringing in a lot of these concepts, especially initially, because we want to have a dialogue about them. This is ancient wisdom that has really been working for thousands of years. And so, part of it is like the framework for this podcast is some of these ideas, like the 5 elements is a Chinese medicine concept about your innate nature. And then there's the 9 palaces, which Jaye works with all the time because she's helping people figure out all the aspects of their lives, their children, their relationships, their career, their money.
All encompassing in people's lives. Yeah.
And then we also want to bring in some more ancient wisdom like alchemy and the 13 ghost points, which help you release the pain you've stored inside. I mean, this is very important. And we're going to do really cool things like we're going to follow the 9 stages of alchemy roadmap together, which is leading to greater authenticity.
And we're going to bring in some guests once in a while who might have a more Western perspective than the Eastern perspective. And it's going to be interesting to see how we explain what we do and maybe how people do more mainstream and see if we can find a meeting of the minds.
And, it's people that inspire us. They might not be doing something Chinese or or, something that is along the lines of what we do, but they are doing something similar and they're exciting and they're motivating
And we're lifelong learners, so we like to learn about new and exciting ideas and concepts.
Yeah. And, it's about life happening to you. And it can, be habitual. It can be weighing you down, causing you stress and anxiety. We don't want that. We want, as we get older, we age and we lose that lightness of being. So here's the question we ask ourselves. Is there more to life than this? How do we raise the veil and see beyond the illusions of our lives? And in the Chinese theory, the goal is to become what they call a realized human being. And we're going to talk about this in the first podcast, but basically it means that you've evolved beyond that. This podcast is for anyone who is wanting more introspection, more of those aha moments, growth, fun, delight in life.
Sure, now is the time to stop paying attention to your life and see how things are from the perspective of this is my life, my time. I need to be awake and aware right now.
Need to get woke.
Need to get woke. Yeah, I mean that's a popular culture thing that's going back a while in our society, in our culture, but it really is completely relative right now. Because if you don't care what's going on in your life, how do you expect anyone else to care? Are you happy with your life? Are you excited with your life? These are the questions that we're going to help you ask yourself and answer, maybe not with that simple yes or no. We're going to ask you to go a little bit deeper. So if you're not waking up every day, thrilled to start your projects, thrilled to start your day, thrilled to be with the person that you're with, these are the things we're going to be looking at. Or also if you're not happy with the food you're eating or your weight or your job or
your health in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to go through the 9 palaces on that.
Okay. So we have to move on to tell you about ourselves, the required background information. The background check. Yes, that's it.
Let's just give everyone a quick background on us. And we'll talk about it more as we go through these podcasts. But Leta and I have a very busy practice called the Alchemy Healing Center in Massachusetts, which is focused on helping people live more authentic, happy, meaningful lives. We've written a few books together. We teach topics in workshops and classes, and we have a couple online classes as well.
And we're both, lifelong learners and natural teachers. So we love to inspire and empower people. And also we've done a lot of traveling. We've been to China and studied Taoism all over the world. And we've been talking about this whole idea of how can we live better lives for a while now. And we're really striving to help people and ourselves achieve our full potential. And so, this podcast is about what are the steps to get there.
And we're going to break it down. No matter where you are in your journey, we're going to have a place that you'll understand and follow along. And, Leta is an amazing Chinese medicine practitioner, and she's been practicing for almost 20 years. She works in alchemy, the 5 elements, and also a series of treatments that we're going to talk about called the 13 Ghost Points. And I think all of these are going to be individual podcasts and maybe even a little series of podcasts. She is also a longtime student of Master Jeffrey Yuen. She travels the world with him, studying Taoism, alchemy, and many different ancient healing techniques.
Yeah. So people ask me all the time how I got started. And it's strange but true. My parents were educators and scientifically oriented. And, they were the status quo at the time. If a scientist said it, it must be true. So you remember margarine. I mean, I grew up on that stuff. So I eat butter now. I really appreciate butter. But anyway, that's a separate podcast story. But we
will do a food.
We're going to do food for sure. And so it was a huge turnaround for me to get involved in Chinese medicine. And I have to say it was out of pure desperation. Western medicine couldn't fix me, even after surgery. So I showed up at my first acupuncturist's doorstep with no more options. And I could not believe that it worked. I was in a lot of pain and I immediately felt better. And so I'm a curious and motivated person. So I needed to know why. And, I was really successful in my early 20s and late 20s, and I was a system engineer for a software company. I mean, if you call a place like LL Bean to place an order, my software is what answers your call. So that's the kind of level of work I was doing. But it bored me to tears, I have to say. And I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing today. But I was so amazed that it helped me that I signed up for a course almost immediately. And when I showed up at the course, everyone was sat in a nice little circle and said why they were there. And everyone wanted to be a practitioner. And I was like, I'm here because I'm curious. And so I had no idea I'd be doing this 20 years later. And I also sat in my class and I thought, as I learned this stuff, everyone needs to know about this. And so one of the commitments I made as I sat in that 1.5 year long class was I need to help other people get this. These are so wonderful, life affirming and life changing concepts. And my life changed so radically that I've been dedicated to that ever since.
I think that's really fascinating and cool. And, a lot of people do not understand alchemy, especially from the Chinese medicine perspective that Leta does. And I really think that that's something that's just fascinating. And it's so interwoven in our lives that you're just going to be blown away when we start talking about these concepts.
And my practice did get a little different than your average Chinese medicine practice because of the dedication I had to alchemy, which is about transformation. And when I met Jaye, I was so excited because a lot of people that I work with were doing really great, just really awesome in their lives. But it was like they get to this point where they were taxiing on the runway, but didn't know how to fly. And then Jaye came along with all these like incredible life strategies and helped them learn how to be really successful, to really like take off and fly. And so, since then we've written books together. We've been working together with these clients and they've been, really getting quite successful.
Getting breakthroughs and just having
breakthroughs.
Be able to fly in their lives.
Jaye, why don't you tell your required background information?
Well, it's not quite exciting, but I've done a lot of different things. After I graduated from college, even though I was young, I got thrown into a pretty big advertising position in New England. I had a big budget and a small staff and had to learn super fast, which was good because I'm a very fast learner. I learned the ins and outs of all kind of media buying and basically advertising agency, how to run a marketing department. And that went really well. And then the people from that place moved on to another. They asked me to come with them, bigger budget, bigger staff. I did that. And then I finally landed a gig where I formed my own agency and I got on a big client and it was great. And so fast forward 20 years, we worked together for 20 years. And I started to feel like, maybe I need to do different things. I'm also an artist, photographer, a writer. And so right around then, I just started to make bigger life, questions. I needed to make some major life changes. Even it was really hard to walk away from that because you get used to making money and having a lot of freedom. And right around then, as I was making these big revelations in my life, I met Leta. And she just kind of clarified for me that the spirituality piece that was just kind of missing or laying dormant in my life. And that kind of made sense to me. And it's not really about making money. It's about happiness. It's about experience. It's about love. It's about really taking charge of your own life and living it how you want to live it. So, as I've been studying 5 elements and the alchemy for years now, I started to put the words to the actions that I'd already been practicing in my life and with other people as I work with them. And the work that Leta and I do for me personally is very inspiring. And I think the clients are really inspired as well.
Yeah. And Jaye has this gift of really helping people clarify not only what they really want, but why they want it. And then helping them realize how to do what they need to do. And so
I always say, people come to me and most people say, I want to make more money. I want to get a better job. I always tell them I can show anyone how to make money, but it's so much more rewarding to show people how to find happiness in all the facets of their life. To live an authentic and true life is so cool. And it's, the whole woo way, we're going to talk about that, but it's a really beautiful thing. And that for me is what alchemy and transformation is about. And that's why I'm so excited about this podcast.
It's really about creating freedom for each person. And so, I help people unload all that baggage and then Jaye gives them the flying lesson. So it works pretty good. I always say
Leta does the heavy lifting and I just get them on the runway and off they go. And it takes, there's no timetable on this. Some people are faster. Some people are slower. There's no right or wrong. It's just individually, it's how you have to look at your own life. We're going to ask you very early on to be the watcher in your life. And that's how this will develop along.
So each podcast, we're going to do a different conversation that's like a mini strategy session, a motivation session, and
maybe some how-to steps. We
Yeah.
don't know. We're just what we're into. We're going to share with you. So maybe you might be into it or get into it, interested in it.
Yeah. So like we said, lifestyle choices is about this concept, the 9 palaces, which we're going to introduce you to. We're going to talk about the 5 elements. We're going to talk about alchemy. And we have many, many more things down the line.
We're going to talk about time management. We're going to talk about sleep techniques. We're going to talk about food, all the things that you need to get in order in your life.
So you can have more fun.
So you can have more fun. Yeah.
It's all about the fun.
It's all about the fun. Inspired action and fun.
Yeah, it should be. That should be the new name. And we also want to encourage you all to join us on Facebook, where we have an Inspired Action Podcast Facebook page. And we really want to create a community of, what do you call them, Jaye? Inspired
actioneers, like musketeers.
Yeah, so
like mouseketeers.
We're the musketeers or the mouseketeers of Inspired Actioneers.
It's always fun for us to talk about these things with people who are into it and have questions, and it really gets us going on that.
And in our first podcast, we're going to talk a lot about Wu Wei and inspired action. So we'll give you the whole philosophy behind it.
Yes. All right. So thanks for joining us here. We hope you keep listening to these conversations and that you're inspired to take some action in your own life.